medorinum prescription was amazing. And we can see actually, I would like to introduce her. She is the treasurer of KQHDA, and she has graduated from CMP Homeopathic Medical College. She has done a psychotherapy and counseling from Mumbai University. She has done her PGDHA from Apollo Hospital, Hyderabad, and she is practicing in Bellandur. Uh, Welcome, doctor, and please present your paper.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjay. Thank you very much. So, without taking much time, all my fellow speakers, right, they already said a lot about the case taking and a lot of information they did give. So, I won't again go back to whatever is already spoken. I hope the screen is visible.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
It is visible. Make it full screen.
Full
Yeah.
screen, yes.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. So, as rightly
Yes.
the speaker said, the main thing when you treat pediatrics is observation. Because right from an infant to the child attains puberty, right? You have to make sure that whether the child is an infant or an adult, like attains a teenager age, right? You have to make sure that the child is well observed in your clinic. And observation is very, very important in pediatric case taking. Your ears should be towards the parent, to what the parent is saying, but your eyes should be on the child to see how the child is observing when he comes to the clinic. And when I say child, you have to observe that doesn't mean that if the child comes in and is quiet, then he's a calcarea or a cilicia or a pulsatilla because he's not talking, he's very quiet. He can be lycopodium also because he may have the anxiety of a new place, anxiety of a new person. So don't just jump to conclusions when you see a child entering into your clinic. Just observe throughout the session of the consultation. Some kids take time to open up. Some kids, the moment they enter in, they just try to snatch whatever things are there inside your clinic, try to be very curious, very, mischievous, very naughty. Some will not even allow the parent to talk. They will just come and start talking to you as if, they don't want the mother to tell what is happening with the child. They want to tell their complaints. So every child is different and every child has to be treated differently, taking into consideration how the child behaves in your clinic. What the parent says is definitely important, but how the child behaves in your clinic is very, very important. So I won't go much into the case taking of pediatrics since it is already covered. I will directly start with the cases. Okay, now this is a case of plantar psoriasis. Boy aged 3 years has eruptions on both the soles near the arches, right more than left, deep cuts that bleed on scratching, aggravation, cold or getting feet wet, better uncovering. Every winter the eruptions worsen. Itching plus plus 3 marks, not better by scratching, like sweets and spicy, aversion milk, thirst normal, thermal hot, perspiration profuse more on head, hands and feet, milestones normal. Now for me to judge the person, especially this child that is thermal is hot, is when this child came to my clinic, he came in slippers. He didn't wanted to wear shoes, neither he wanted to wear, those crocs or closed shoes or sandals, nothing. And the mother said most of the time this child just loves wearing shorts, t-shirts, not even the proper t-shirt, those banyan types. And he's always on slippers. Even when they went for a vacation to Dalhousie, all the other family members were in shawls or sweaters. But this kid was very happy wearing the minimal clothes. He was like very thin clothes and he was just playing in the snow, enjoying himself. So for him, even at home, he wants to be directly under the fan. So all these points made me think that this child is more of a hot patient. And the child was very comfortable during the interview. When he came inside, he just sat on the examination table and he showed the feet. He did not speak anything. He just kept his feet up and he showed the feet, waiting for me to see, oh, is this what is happening to you? This is what is the complaint. He was hyperactive. He waited for some time to see if I'm observing his feet. The moment he saw that, okay, I just said, oh, okay, I will come and look at your feet. He was like, okay, she saw that this is the problem. He got down from the examination. And he started roaming inside the clinic trying to see whatever was there on the table, be it the tablecloth or the pens that were kept or the books that were kept. So he was very inquisitive. He was trying to explore whatever is there in my kitchen. Then he went and stood on the weighing machine. So I knew that he was just moving around. He was not disturbing. He was not making noise. He was not screaming, shouting, trying to break things. Nothing. He was just seeing how those things are, what it is, what is the thing that is kept on the table. There was a paperweight. He picked up the paperweight, just turned it left and right to see what it is. So he was curious, inquisitive. Then the mother says he enjoys being outdoors. He'll take his that little scooty and he'll keep roaming out in the complex. If he's outside, he's very happy. But at the same time, even inside the house, he'll keep playing on the scooty. He'll keep playing with the blocks. He always will keep playing with something or the other. If the mother is on the laptop, he'll go and see what she is doing. Or if the brother is studying, he'll see what he is studying. Or if he has some gadget, he'll try to understand what that gadget is. Even in the house, all the walls are colored because he keeps scribbling, scratching on the walls. Then any new thing that is bought in the house, they have this robot. Like nowadays, because of lockdown, many people don't keep maids, right? So there is this machine. So that was the recent history I got. This case is an old case, but recently, even when I was talking to the patient's mother, she said, so this point, this characteristic or the personality of exploring things is still persistent in him even after so many years. He's dominating but not demanding. He wants to do things in his own way. He loves his brother, plays with him, but the clause is the brother should listen to him. Does whatever he likes and enjoys. He has fear of dark. Now, when we say fear of dark, we need to understand that at what age the child has fear of dark. Many kids do have fear of dark, but introducing this fear of dark is very, very important. He's not fussy about clothes. As I told you, even when he came to the clinic, the mother had to actually convince him to wear a full pant. But still, he was adamant he did not wear a full pant. He wore shorts and a nice t-shirt, a sweat t-shirt with a hood, and he came to the clinic when he came. He's not fussy about clothes. He can wear the same t-shirt and pants throughout the week. So now the remedy. See, the case is a very clear case. If you know your materia medica well, I'm sure most of you all would have already come or already would have guessed what this remedy would be for this child. So let me go to the remedies that could come up. If there are any remedies that you all can think of, you can write in the box.
Yes, there is tarantula is there.
Hello.
Yes. So the remedies that could come up could be tuberculinum, tarantula, sulfur, silicea. Now let me tell you all that which remedy did I select. So for tuberculinum, the child has to be very hyperactive. He's very restless. So tuberculinum can also be thought of. Tuberculinum is again a hot patient, but tuberculinum wants everything in a hurry. He will not wait for the mother to sit for a long time. After a certain period of time, he's like, Mama, let's go, come on. He's always in a hurry. That restlessness is so much that for him to sit in one place is going to be very difficult. He just wants, come on, let's go. That is the personality of it. If he was tarantula, I'm sure most of the things in the clinic would have got broken. The tarantula has a very destructive personality. They are very obedient. They will not at all listen to anybody. And he was a silicea child. Silicea is an obedient and a very nice child. He's very concerned about the image that he carries, right? So even if he comes to the clinic, he's sitting, although he gets quiet, but he'll make sure that that image of his is maintained even in front of a doctor. It may not be a good image or a bad image, but he makes sure that what the doctor feels about him is the same what the doctor feels about. This patient, the remedy that I gave was sulfur. The reason for giving sulfur was one, he was a hot patient and he was very curious. See, sulfur patients are very curious to know what is happening. See, like, how does this whole thing happen? Okay, they want to know how it happens. If it is a calculated child, they want to know why does it happen. That why the anxiety is again why. But for sulfur, it is mainly to understand how does this thing work. The word how is very important when it comes to sulfur. Secondly, sulfur people are not bothered about how they look. They can look very pretty. At the same time, they can wear jazzy colors. They can wear very, fluorescent color also. But then that it doesn't really matter what they are wearing. So it's not that he wants a bright color or a dull color. They'll wear anything, but for them it should look good. That is another point. So I gave this patient sulfur 200. In the follow-up, the eruptions got better. Deep cuts were still there, but they were better. Itching was still there. It was better than scratching. So again, I repeated sulfur. And the next follow-up, there was no itching, deep cuts were healing. There was no redness around the eruption.
I request all the participants, please mute, except the speaker. Please mute. We are hearing a lot of background noises. Yes, Trupti, you can go ahead.
So then I put this patient on placebo. And again, during the treatment, although his complaints were getting better, I did give him a dose of tuberculinum also. I won't deny that. But then later on, the child did really good. Even little cold and cough or the respiratory complaints that he had, he was better. He didn't have to take any allopathic, neither any homeopathic medicines, even for the cold and cough. Usually what I tell for cold and cough, especially in Bangalore weather, I tell the patients, please drink lots of hot water, take regular steam, because just by taking steam and drinking lots of hot water or warm water, see, when we say hot water, it should not be that it's going to burn your tongue or your throat. It should be a room temperature or normal temperature, which your body can take, which the child or the adult can take. So warm water and continuous steam, that really helps in taking care of most of the respiratory complaints. So now I come to the next case. This next case is really interesting. A case of cough. Girl age 4 years, cough every night, especially after midnight. She wakes from sleep and starts crying, following by cough. Now, when I tell about this cough, let me tell all of you, just to give a hint in this case, that not every cough is related to URTI or LRTI. Okay, so understanding why does the cough happen is very, very important, and that you all will know in this case as I go further. She coughs continuously till she vomits. Like she'll cough and then she'll cry and crying, and while crying, she'll cough and coughing, she'll keep vomiting. She has a history of recurrent bilateral ear pain, thermals, ambithermal, thirst, 4 to 5 glasses of water. Now coming to her mind. Now this child, she's shy, always clinging to mother, and it is more after the birth of her sibling. She's obedient, wants her toys and things to be kept in place and neatly. Like what the mother told me is, she wants me always. And when this child came into the clinic also, she was not hiding behind the mother. She came along with the mother and she sat on the chair next to the mother and she was just looking at me. And when I spoke to her, it's always good to have a conversation with the child. Make sure you do not ignore the child when the child comes to the clinic. At least have a general conversation that, hello, come, sit down, how are you, what is your name? The child will also feel important. Whether the child responds, doesn't respond, gives you a deaf ear, snaps at you, that is a secondary thing. But at least making a conversation with the child is very important. So the child just looked and she smiled, but the whole time she was holding her mother. And when I asked her what is her name, she looked at her mother, she smiled, and in a very low voice, she told me what her name was. She has this stranger anxiety. Now, when I talk about stranger anxiety, it's always important to know till what age the stranger anxiety remains. Like the child, like from 3 months to 1 year, okay, may have stranger anxiety, which is common. But if a child of 3, 4, 5, 6 years old has a stranger anxiety, it becomes a characteristic symptom. So it's always important to know about the growth and development of the child. What milestones come at what age is very, very important, whether it is a common symptom or an uncommon symptom. That is very important to know. She will sit in a room and not come out, doesn't like anyone talking to her directly. What the mom said is she'll always want her mom to be around her. And she has this stranger anxiety. If someone comes to the house, you have to tell her in advance who is coming to her house. Or if you are going out, you have to tell her where she's going and what is going to come her way. No surprises at all. And now if somebody comes, you have to explain her who it is, why they are coming, what is the purpose of their visit in the house. And especially when it is any male person or any men, she will not at all come out in the hall. She will be throughout the time in the bedroom or in her room, and she will not come out. Even if she comes out, she like, I'll come and I'll sit on the sofa or on the couch or on the chair. But they should not talk to me. That is one part. Second part about not talking, even if it is a person of any other gender or any other child, like when they go down to the park to play. If anyone says, see, normally it's a normal tendency, right? When people see small kids, they're like, oh, hi, baby, so cute. What is your name? But this girl didn't even want that. She will start crying. She's like, why did she talk to me directly? She's your friend. She should talk to you. She should not talk to me. I don't want her to ask me directly. So that itself that somebody else is asking her something will make her cry. Intelligent, grasps things quickly, good in studies, loves singing. And she's very good. Like the mother says that once you tell her something, she remembers it. Sometimes if certain things in the house, the mom or the dad don't keep in place. For example, the spectacles, the glasses, and they tell, oh, do you know where this glasses is? She'll go quickly and she knows which things are kept where. That itself shows even her toys and things. At the end of the day, she'll do a cleanup. She'll keep all the toys in place. She's in a nursery, even nursery or LKG, and that time also she'll make sure that all her books, her toys, everything is in place, and she'll remember things very well. She loves music, she loves singing, she is very sensitive. If somebody talks to her, the stranger anxiety, and even if the mom or anybody in the house scolds her, she doesn't like that. She'll start crying. And if someone corrects her mistake, that also makes her upset. And then you have to keep telling, oh, I'm sorry, it's okay. See, this is what happens. You tell her anything nicely, quietly, in a very nice manner, she's fine. But no screaming, no shouting. That same thing applies even on TV. If she sees any violence, any fighting, she doesn't like that. She's like, I don't want to watch this. Can you change this? The moment advertisement comes, she enjoys it. She try to pick up the words of the songs of the advertisement, and she tries to pick up the wordings of the song. So that way, her grasping power is good. Okay. Now, before coming to this remedy, when I told you about the cough that the patient had, okay. Now, as I said, it's not always important. From whatever picture I've given you of this child, I'm sure most of you all would have come up with the remedy. Another thing about the cough, as I said, she always wants to cling to her mother. She wants her mother all the time. It's not that the mother should always keep carrying her or holding her. The mother can leave her down. Like the example that the mom said is when she was a toddler, the mom used to give her some blocks or some plastic containers, and she used to sit and play with that, and the mother used to cook in the kitchen. So for her to be the mother to be in front of her eyes is very, very important. She wants let the mother do her household work. That's fine. She doesn't want that the mother should carry her and go around with her. No, the presence of her mother is very important. Now, regarding the cough, the child at night when she sleeps, she wants her mother to sleep next to her. But when I just probed a little after getting the history from the mother, when I asked her that when does she cough more, so that's the reason that the mother gave me was that after she sleeps, the mom just goes out to do the cleaning work, like just clearing up all the mess or cleaning the kitchen work. So when the child wakes up and she finds that the mother is not next to her, she'll wake up coughing, and then she'll scream loudly for her mother. When the mother comes, she'll pacify her. She'll like, okay, I'm sorry, I was not there. I'm here only. Don't worry. I'm next to you. Calm down. Relax. So talking, sometimes it may happen that she's just coughing and crying, but she's not vomiting. Okay, and once the mother pacifies her, she's fine, she's quiet, and then they give her a glass of water. She calms down, then she clings to her mother. The mother holds her, and then they go to sleep. So, any remedies?
Thank you very much, doctors.
So some of the remedies that could come up could be calcarea, silicia, pulse, natrium. Now differentiating, is very important. How is a calcarea child? How is a silicia child? How is a pulse child? That is very, very important to understand here. So on the basis of just because I don't want to take a lot of time, I won't go much into the details of these drugs. Let me just quickly say that what happens is the main personality of this child is fear of abandonment, especially of the loved ones. She doesn't want to let go of. Now, when we say loved ones, it may not be necessarily mother or the father. It can be your pet also. It can be your prized possession, your soft toy, your doll, or your dog. It can be anything, but the fear of abandonment of the loved one. And another remedy, another thing that is there in this remedy is feigning sickness. Just to get the attention of your loved one, you can also feign a sickness. Okay, so understanding whether the sickness is real or the child is feigning is very, very important. So the remedy that I gave this child was pulsatilla 1M. And then after that, there were no episodes of cough. The child slept well at night. And, even the little bit of anxiety that she had on seeing people had also reduced. She did start making attempt in talking in one word. Initially, she never used to talk, but slowly, when anybody used to ask her, what's your name? She used to at least say, what is her name? Do you go to school? She used to nod her head, yes. Oh, you like your sister? Yes. So it was more of nodding the head, yes, no, and one word, which again, most of the times what happens, all these small, small things or the personality that the child tells you, it properly fits into the materia medica. See, the materia medica is all from provings. It is not any fairy tales that was there. So if you know your materia medica really good, it really helps you identify what the child is. So what I do is most of the times I go with the materia medica. I do repertorize, but for me, repertorizing is always like a helping tool. Like as the first case Dr. Shelley showed, right? Although on the repertorization sheet, lycopodium did come up. But if you know your materia medica well and understanding the personality of the child, the remedy was Delcamaro. Similarly, if you know your materia medica really good, and repertory just becomes like a helping tool. Never see that, okay, the first remedy on the repertorization is A, B, or C. Don't go to give the A remedy. Always make sure that correlate it with your materia medica. That would really help. And then coming to the final sheet, see, most of the times, what the mind does not know, the eyes does not see. You have the data, you have the information, you have the knowledge of your materia medica. But if you don't know what to see, as I said, all child who are scared don't come under, or as I gave you the example of lycopodium, just because a child comes in and he doesn't talk to you, he's very shy, quiet, that doesn't put him under calcarea carb or silicea or a baraita carb. Try to understand why is he quiet. Is he always like this, or is it only for certain places? As I said, lycopodium does have the anxiety of a new place, fear of going to a new place, new person, right? So if you have that understanding, a proper insight and a good wisdom, you will definitely hit the bullseye. So just having data, information and knowledge is not enough. Having a good insight, a good knowledge of your materia medica, and being very wise in understanding which remedy the child is portraying, or what is the personality of the child. You may not get the entire materia medica in the child, but understanding the characteristics, the keynote symptoms will definitely help you to hitting the bullseye and make sure that your patient is fine. So with this, I end my presentation, and I would like to thank the entire team of KQHDA, including Shripad Hegde sir, Swami sir, our patron Patel sir, and thank you, Dr. Sanjay, for being a good moderator and welcoming me, Dr. Shubha, Dr. Srinivasulu, Dr. Deepa Raja, and the entire team of KQHD. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Tripti. It was really interesting and a very simple and very nice lecture where we got clear idea about how the knowledge of materia medica is helping us to make prescriptions easier and no complex prescriptions. Very simple prescription, but very effective. Thank you, doctor.
Thank you.
I hope I will take from Dr. Sanjay Panikar. Thank you for conducting the webinar so nicely, smoothly. I could make out there were some children, they were crying in between, they are making noises. I think that is a part of our family. I think we have tolerated them very well. I hope they will cooperate next time. And all the speakers today, Dr. Shelly Sharma, Dr. Anisha Kulkarni, and Dr. Deepa Raje Nimbalkar, and Dr. Trupti Pai, give them a big hand. They made a very good effort to make this webinar success. Why actually? Because there is a really challenges in pediatric cases, especially in the infants and the children, where the challenges will come to identify the constitution of a child. It's very difficult. As well as we see the miasm, see whether it suits for a tubercular miasm or it is a soric or a psychotic or a syphilitic. In the beginning stage, it's very difficult to see and assess because we don't have sufficient as well as the duration of the sufferings, as well as the patients during maternal life, what were all the problems. It's very difficult to get the information. Many times, where the parents, either mother, father, or who is taking care, the guardian, they will come and complain or they will report on behalf of child. Many times it is misinterpreted and we are carried away. It's very difficult to treat the pediatric cases, as well as to decide the temperament and their desires and aversions, especially to newborn and the infants, I will tell you, and as well as infant and child and up till the teenage, it is very difficult to do the things. And how the today four speakers were there. I say the four categories or the four types of child we identify. I will tell you, if you decide that you are identifying or diagnosing that child belongs to which group, like what we say, the number one is fun-loving child. Then certain remedies are eliminated. And next we say the sensitive child. There certain remedies are eliminated. And the third comes determined child. We have seen the so many children are very much adamant and determined. And the fourth one is very serious child. See, if you classify or understand these four children in this group, then we could able to decide they belong to which temperament also. And by the same time, we could able to decide they belong to which miasm also. See, many times we classify all the children belong to the tubercular miasm. May not be wrong. See, then when come to the cases where Dr. Shelly Sharma was discussing about the urinary tract infection, where the repeated infections were there. In I think Dr. Deepa Raje also discussed about urinary tract infection. I could not get the exact cause in that child age, why it has happened. If we could able to trace out the exactly causative factors, then I think we could able to take care of them better instead of running behind them. Because in that age group, very few exposures will be there. That's why I think we have to identify what may be the cause for that. See, that is one of the things what I could able to make. And Dr. Anusha Kulkarni made a history taking and observation as well as autism case. It's very tough job to decide, first of all, autism case and ADHD case. Many borderline ADHD cases, they are just hyperactive. They are labeled as they are ADHD cases. See, that is wrongly diagnosed. And of late, because of the unique family of one child, many children, they come with a their demands and the supply that continuously that happens in the family, they become irritable. They may not be true that they are all hyperactive or ADHD child. It's very demarkable. A single hairline difference is there to differentiate whether they are just hyperactive or they are both. See, where we should be able to decide that. That is a very interesting thing. And Dr. Deepa Raje has mentioned the ADHD as well as urinary tract and chickenpox. Here I will put a word, Dr. Deepa, for your information. We treat chickenpox cases. Okay, we don't allow it to just happen, because once the pre-eruptive phase also we give medicine if we understood that the baby is going to get a chickenpox, or once the rashes develops also, we have a sufficient remedies which indicates there that helps to prevent the complications of chickenpox, number one, and it reduces the suffering of the baby or the child who is suffering for the fever, or it may lead to the upper respiratory tract infection, or the liver, even the pneumonia and other things also, we have a sufficient remedies. That's why we say even for the prevention of chickenpox also, we give a medicine. Chickenpox we should treat, okay? It's not a...
Given, sir. Rustock that time, within 2-3 days, Rustox was...
No, there is also where the Rustox has been given, Natramur has been given, all these remedies have got a vesicular eruptions on the skin. Okay, that's very interesting fact. And we don't know many times whether our remedies have initiated that, because many times these virus, so we don't know the hidden phenomena. Just I was talking yesterday, now it is COVID-19, for example, this vaccination. Almost all today, we have attended almost 100 doctors here in the webinar. Minimum, I feel 50 to 60, they already had a COVID-19 and it has disappeared. See, maybe in the low virality, or some might have had a fever and all these things. Because of the strong resistance, they may come out of the problem. That's why that is very interesting. And in the Trapti Pai, she was talking about plantar psoriasis, sulfur, a very interesting case on the psychosomatic basis. You could able to decide that. And next one is cough. Here, I would like to say there was a strong belief from the all old practitioners. I'm talking about the even senior or my seniors to them. And in northern area and northeastern India, it is even today that is practiced. So immediately after the birth or within a week or 10 days of the birth, they will give 1 dose of sulfur to the child. I don't know, many of you may not be aware of that. And this is to take care of their miasm, they say, as well as prevent so many diseases. Sulfur works as a very interesting, as an antisoric remedy, which takes care of the so many diseases. There is a strong belief in majority of the homeopaths there in northern India, as well as certain parts of India, may be true also. Why I'm telling you can try that, and many mothers are there. And we see, I will another interesting thing, that what the children needs of the 7 life skills. One is mindfulness, second one is kindness, third one is ability to listen, and fourth is curiosity, fifth is empathy, and sixth is acceptable, as well as seventh is trust. How the child could be, and we could able to diagnose and understand the child better way. And by the same time, what are the 7 needs of the child? That also, if we know as a doctors, then it is very difficult to treat. Only the medicine many times won't work. There may be some exciting causes, there may be some irritating causes, there may be some maintaining causes, where in the child has problems. There are so many things are there. Because we have seen many natrums of child where the parents are staying in a house, it is actually always wet, or they are in a downtown area. Whenever the season changes, the child develops. That is a typical thing. Unless and until they change the place or they correct where they are staying, all such things also, one should know that. What may be the cause behind that? Then how the expression is coming? What may be the probable complications? Because children cannot express everything fully unless and until they have grown up 3 years or above 3.5 years or 4 years. The 7 needs of child is, first one is security. Second one is stability. Third one is consistency. Fourth is emotional support. Fifth is love and affection that every child needs. If they are actually deficient or they are away from that, naturally their suffering starts. Majority of the child, I will tell you, their suffering starts from there only. And sixth is education. Seventh is positive role model. This is also equally important. Of late, what they see, the which persons they see, how they grow, and what they follow. See, we say the child is a parent and parent's parent. Huh? See, they in the Kannada they say Tata. See, for the grandchild they say the grandparent's name. Means they carry that genes and they follow that. See, naturally all these things will give us a lot many informations. And today is an important day for your information. I will add to that. So World Radiography Day today. National World Radiography Day, and X-ray has been found, X-ray radiation found by William Röntgen in 1895. On his birthday time, they have put that the World Radiography Day. And I am very happy, I am very proud also. I will tell you, today all the youngsters and bright future of homeopathy and hope of homeopathy, you have all presented in a short time, given time, and very well studied and put it as a cream on the eyes. I appreciate all of you. I hope, I wish you all the best, and will continue this support as well as the study. Okay, join us back again. Now I request Dr.
Nice
Manisha
presentation, all the speakers, sir.
vote of thanks.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Hello, everyone. Very warm good evening to all. It's great honor to propose the vote of thanks to all who have helped us in making this webinar a very resounding success. On behalf of KQHDA, I extend a very hearty gratitude to our distinguished speakers, Dr. Shaili Sharma, Dr. Anusha Kulkarni, Dr. Deepa Raje, and Dr. Trupti Pai, for sharing valuable information and excellent presentation on today's topic, challenges in pediatric cases, and making this webinar very meaningful and interesting. I would like to express my deep sense of appreciation to our respected patron, Dr. B.D. Patel sir, Chairman Dr. Swami sir, our President Dr. Shripad Hegde sir, for their guidance and moral support. I extend thanks to Dr. Sanjay Panikar sir for wonderful introduction, for giving wonderful introduction of speakers. Finally, I thank the wonderful participants who have turned up in such great numbers. Once again, I thank all for your cordial cooperation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Manisha. I hope if any questions or any details you require, you can just go through our website, KQHDA platform, and you can see. Please join us again with our future programs. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I end the session now.
Yeah, please.